and welcome back to Table of Books. Table of Geeks. This week we are joined by myself, Emma, and Coots, of course, our lovely host, as well as Jose and Allie from Wicked Encounters. This week we are actually going to be talking about, as you may have guessed from the title that I just made up on the spot, we'll be talking about books.
Do you want my
Yay!
job? Do you want my job for that? Because you did a better job than I do.
Really? Because that was terrifying a little bit. I'm gonna be honest. I was scared I was gonna mess it up, call us like Geek of
You're
Tables.
doing great,
or something.
sweetie.
You're doing great.
Thanks,
I believe in you. All right, Emma, I'm gonna let you ask the questions since this is your idea.
All right. I'm totally prepared.
The same with
Definitely.
me. Every single episode, we just go to something and I just randomly throw out questions.
Can I just quickly say, I like how we're all hosts, except Emma specifically called out Coots as the host, and the rest of us are just here.
Yo, I was gonna say the same thing, but I was gonna no, I'm gonna let it go.
It's not
But
even
Allie,
mentioned, and you
I
have
love
Allie from Wicked Encounters.
I'm just like, hi, yes, I'm still a guest. How are you? I'm so glad to be here.
I'll turn it on the podcast on Discord.
All right, so I take it back. We're all hosts.
There you
Coots
go.
is usually the one asking the questions.
Bold assumption of you to think that I want to be a host now.
Wow.
This brand new podcast that you made up called Table of Books.
Table of Books.
That's a bold assumption of you to think that I'm literate.
It's bold assumption you think I can read.
Joke's on you. I can't read.
These kids be very upset.
I love that today is the book episode all about reading, and it's the one episode I didn't write anything on my board.
Yep,
so
it's perfect.
Shame on me.
Right,
you also aren't wearing a themed shirt.
Yeah.
I don't have anything that has books on it. I mean, plus it's cold, so I figured I'd just wear my leather jacket.
You could have worn something with words.
It's 72 here, so I don't know what cold is.
Emma?
Yeah, can we vote her off the island? Is that a thing we can do?
You're talking to three people who live in the Northeast. Emma. That's a bad idea.
Look, I just roast alive in the summer, okay? I turn into a book that you throw into a fire.
Yeah, now it's time for a book burning.
No, that's a southern thing, okay? We don't burn books up here.
I said that, and my book fell on top of my hand and actually kind of hurt. So.
Excellent.
Respect the book.
The book is taking its
so anyway,
books.
Books. So first question that I had for you guys today was, whenever you read like a physical copy of a book,
still a bold assumption.
How would you guys treat your books? Like, are you the kind of person that dog ears your pages, cracks the spines, or are you the kind of person that treats every book like it's the Bible?
I have a box in the garage of all my books.
Pretty bold of you to think that we read the Bible.
That's fair. That's fair. I just mean like it's a sacred something that you don't want to mess up or bend or fold or get stains on.
I used to be very much the kind of person that like treated my books like they were like the most precious thing ever. But like I kind of got over that a little bit because like why? Like I mean I use bookmarks. I don't really fold the pages anymore. That's the only thing I do now that's still like respect the book. But like I've tossed my books across the room. I've let them wherever I left them. If my kids happen to find it, God help them. You know, I kind of got over that whole like, oh no, I had to, you know, but I do prefer physical paper books over like doing it on a tablet. It's just like something like the musty smell of a book. Like I kind of like that and that whole feeling of it. So I do take care of my books, but I'm not like I used to be. Anyone else?
Emma, call someone out.
Coots, you talked first.
Oh, okay. Push me in the way. So basically what I do with my books, like I said, most of my books are still in a box from where I've moved so much. But the books that I do have are currently sitting up on my dresser with collecting dust because it's been a long time since I've had time to sit down and read. But I normally try my best to take care of books. Like I still have a book from, I think it was 8 or 9, that has the author's signature inside of it, and that thing has never been dog-eared, and it still has a non-broken spine.
All right, your turn, Allie.
I enjoy wining and dining my books when I first pick them up from the bookstore or Amazon box, and then once that honeymoon period is done, it's time to rip and tear.
Oh,
That's fair.
At the same time, I do usually try to keep good care of my books. A lot of the ones that I read anymore are to reference the topics that I'm going over for Wicked Encounters. But I did recently start the Annihilation series. But I have so many books and such little room. I'm a bit of a whore when it comes to books, so I've decided that a tablet is actually better for me because then they can never meet in person and try to like rally against me in a jealous fit of rage. So, I guess not even a tablet. I have the Z Fold phone, so it literally just folds out like a
Oh, so
big
it's just like
bitch.
a book.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, boss, you thick.
Is she a thick bitch? I love her so much. Gonna read her every night. But yeah, so I use her now because it's a lot easier to hold my place, make notes of something, and I have a lot more space now for knickknacks.
Yeah.
Now, what about you, Emma?
Well, okay, so my mom, when I was growing up, my mom worked in a library. So it was kind of ingrained in me from a very early age to treat books like all of them were like holy texts because they were all rentals essentially from the library. But as I have gotten older, I still kind of have, like, it hurts my feelings when I have to crack a spine on a book. And don't dog ear my pages. Would rather use a bookmark. Plus, there's so many cute bookmarks out there. But kind of like what Allie's saying, like I like to wine and dine them the first read through, where I treat them like, oh, hello, hey, baby, how are you doing? It's so nice to
Let me
meet you again.
casually turn your page.
Casually turn your page and brush my fingers across you. But
Oh, you
then,
like that, baby?
oh yeah, I certainly like it.
We
But
make
didn't
books
take long.
sexual. Hell yes. The trend continues.
that didn't take long at
Oh.
all.
Don't worry. Don't you worry about that. Anyway, so we'll get back to that. But after the first read through, I will highlight stuff. I'll put like little sticky notes in them for like my favorite chapters to go back to them. I'll like draw little hearts around the characters' names sometimes if I really like them. Yeah, so I try to treat them well, but then when they're mine, they're mine. And I own
I
them.
don't like the way you said that last part though. Was that
They're mine. They're
You
mine.
slut!
at less like like I'm sorry, you guys are talking about books in a sexual way, and I keep picturing that movie Page Master where the books came to life. And you guys are violating these people. Like, it's horrible.
Don't act like they don't like it.
Hello, Benjamin Franklin. We meet again.
They want us to break their spine in more ways
Yeah.
than one.
More ways than
break
one.
that back.
Listen, if there's a book on Hysteria, I'm pretty sure you would do the same thing.
Broke back
Ew.
spines.
I would
That
throw that
part.
book in the fire.
Wow. Oh, that's right. You don't like Hysterian.
I do not. Now, if you was
Also-
Halston,
Halston, then you would no. You would let Halston break your back as reading a book.
yeah,
I feel like any book that
Wow.
Halston would have like honey all over it, so like the pages would be like sticky and like stuck together.
Oh,
I
that's
hope
not
they're
honey.
stuck with honey. Oh no, why is it white? Help. This is bad honey. This honey went bad.
What kind of honey
That's
is this?
mold.
Wow.
Lick. It
Why
tastes
is it
like
salty?
numerous dead cells.
So, yeah.
Tastes like
so,
wood.
Emma,
So
save us, please.
I got you. All right. Next question. I feel like is a very easy to answer question, but I would like you guys, when you answer it, don't just give a title. Like, tell me why. What is your favorite book, and why is it your favorite book? And of course, it can be a series as well. We'll just start at the top with Jose again.
Hi, I'm on top, apparently.
Jose's my bottom.
Always, Allie, always. Anyway.
I knew that joke was coming as soon as that came out of my mouth, and I regretted it immediately.
It came
I
out
was
of your
like,
mouth.
oh no.
Don't worry,
Giggity.
I'll behave now.
I won't.
Please don't. If I'm your bottom, you better not behave.
Don't talk
Anyway.
over me.
All right. So, my favorite book, I mean, I've been reading my entire life. I believe in our first episode when we talked about what made us geeks, I mentioned how my dad was in the army, so we moved around a lot. So I didn't really have a whole lot of friends. So my nose was constantly like stuck in a book. And I was kind of like Belle from Beauty and the Beast, walking around with reading the book, and occasionally I would bump into a tree because I wasn't looking where I was going. But it wasn't until I came out of the closet, and I was looking for like video games that had gay characters in it, and then from there I was like, you know what, I kind of want to have books that have gay characters in it. Like, doesn't have to necessarily be like the main character, but that would help. Hmm. And I was thoroughly disappointed because I would go to Barnes and Nobles, go to the gay and lesbian section, and it was mostly erotica, and that's not what I was looking for. I mean, I picked up a couple books here and there, um, but it was mostly erotica, and I didn't really want that. And I told a friend that same story. Like, I'm tired of going to Barnes and Nobles and only seeing this. And he recommended this book over here. It's called The Last Herald Mage. For those of you who can't see it, it's by Mercedes Lackey. And if I'm not mistaken, it was written in 1986, so it's the same age that I am. And for it being written in the mid 80s, it was really progressive because the main character is indeed gay. And the way that it was written, like, I would have to put the book down during like an emotional like chapter. Like, what the characters felt, I felt like I was feeling it alongside them. It was so well written. And because I was kind of like back in my prudish era where I didn't really want to read erotica, I love that there is love scenes kind of in it, but like it'll be the two characters being like, "What do you want to do tonight?" Like, "Oh, I have an idea." "Oh, do you?" You turn the page, it's the next morning.
Oh, the
And
fade to black.
yeah. So we know that it happens. Granted, maybe it's because she doesn't really know what gay people do in the bedroom. I don't know. Um, excuse me.
How does
But
this work?
What, y'all don't just crochet? That's what lesbians do. I hear there's a whole lot of arts and crafts that involve scissors.
Well, I am the G in LGBT, not the L, so I can't answer. I can't speak to that.
What, don't you just play
So,
with pencils?
I mean,
Allie-
sometimes, but the problem
Allie,
is
just
if one
come over,
pencil's
we'll
bigger than
find
the
out.
other.
Oh, all right.
Oh my! Wow. Yeah. So the Last Herald
You have
Mage is
scissors?
basically. I should have just brought a Playboy, and I would have been it. Like, that's just like, this is my favorite book. Here you
This is
go.
my favorite book. Here you go.
But no, the main character is Vaniel. At least that's how I believe you pronounce it. And it's fascinating how the journey that he goes through, because he is the father of a lord, and his father was so afraid that he was going to end up being gay that he made it so that he doesn't even know that gay is a thing. Like, his servants and everyone, they weren't even allowed to talk about the topic of homosexuality. So he grew up not even knowing that was a possible thing to be. So he was into music. He loved playing his lute. Um, he loved studying for stuff, but he didn't really like fighting. But as the son, the heir of a lord, he had to learn not just book stuff and music, but he had to learn how to fight. You had to know how to use the sword, and he wasn't very good at that. So he ends up getting punished because he ended up studying a way of fighting that best suits him, more, almost like a hit and run kind of thing. And his father was like, "That's not manly." It was very much toxic masculinity, and he ended up sending his son away to the main part of the kingdom, where his sister Savile is like a herald mage, which is like a mage that was chosen to be a herald. A herald is someone that's chosen by a companion, which all look like white horses, but they're not horses. And he just kind of goes through this journey of self-discovery and discovers that he himself, spoilers for anyone who hasn't read it, um, but he discovers that he himself is a mage. And how he discovers that is very heartbreaking. It's a very good story. There's three books. This is through all three in one. The first book is called Magic's hold on, because I'm gonna mess this up. Magic's Pawn. The second book is called Magic's Promise, and the last book is called Magic's Price. And
So
he
is
has a
him
whole series. Sorry, go ahead.
is him like no, you're good. Is him like finding out that he's a mage, is that's like kind of like a metaphor for also finding out that he's gay too?
They both tend to happen to him around the same time. So it's like a really big like thing of self discovery. And so in the first book, it's really much like, oh, I'm gay, I'm a mage, I'm a gay, I'm gay, 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 gay. So it's pretty much heavily about that. But the other books, he's kind of like older, so he's kind of like, oh, wait, I know I'm gay already. So it's not so much like coming out centric. So because a lot of people now, when you see gay people in media, it's mostly focusing on the coming out story part. So this starts off with that, but kind of goes away. Um, and it's a very emotional book. There's a lot of ups and downs. It does start off for anyone who's going to read it. The first few chapters are a little, people say, boring. But give it a chance. Read the whole thing. I guarantee you will not be upset. It takes part in a kingdom that she created called Valdemar, and so she has a whole bunch of books that take place there. They're not all gay. Um, if that's not your thing for whatever reason. But this was my first exposure to her writing. I absolutely love it. She also writes books that are taking like classic fairy tales and kind of redoes them. Like right now, I'm reading a book by her that's called Blood Red. It's basically Little Red Riding Hood, but she hunts werewolves.
Ooh.
So I know, Coots, I know, but it's a good book. I'm loving it so far. So it's I love her writing, and this book I actually consider this to be my most treasured possession. I've read and reread this book so many times. I have cried, and it sucks because like not a lot of people know about it. And so my husband, as a part of his Christmas present to me, actually took my book and read it. So I'm actually able to have discussions with him about the book. I used to love writing and I stopped, but when I started reading this book, it kind of reignited, my love of writing, and I write stories all the time. I even created a book for my children as a Christmas present. So it's all thanks to Mercedes Lackey and this book. Coots actually read the book that I wrote to my kids. Um, I absolutely love this. I think it's really worth like reading. Again, it's called The Last Herald Mage, and they do have it in audio form. And a few years ago, they actually released an article saying they were going to turn this into a miniseries on TV, but there hasn't been any word on it since then. So I'm guessing the project might have been canceled, unfortunately. But Mercedes Lackey, if you ever happen to come across this podcast, your work means a lot to me. It is great representation. It has made me cry. It had made me smile. It had, restored my faith in love. I think that this is an amazing book. It has action. It has magic in it. It's just a perfect, perfect book in my opinion. And I am eternally grateful for her for creating that world.
Coots, what's your favorite book and why?
So, I was going to originally take the cop out. Obviously, Lord of the Rings is my favorite book. I love Fellowship. I love Two Towers. I love Return of the King. I love The Silmarillion. I love The Hobbit. I love the notes of Tolkien. I love all of it. I own all of it. But because everybody knows Lord of the Rings, and if you haven't read the books, read the books. There's so much more than happens in the books and the movies. And the books are so good. I love the books. But instead of choosing my Lord of the Rings, which is again my favorite book, I decided I'm going to bring in two of my favorite books.
It's gonna be Playboy. Watch.
How did you know? One is The Killer Angels, which is about the Battle of Gettysburg. If you've ever seen the movie Gettysburg, it's basically based upon this book. It's a historical fiction talking about the commanders and their lives, everything with that happened. Like they actually have all the accurate tactics, everything like that. But they have like what General Lee said, what Colonel Chamberlain said, what General Hooker said, General Meade, like everything like is very realistic towards the time. It's still considered historical fiction though.
Coots, you like that book because you're a what?
Because I'm a historian.
Yeah.
Because he's a white man.
I was gonna review this one too, but if you're gonna be like
No. Tell us about that one too.
So this book you can't even get anymore, called Rebel at the Gates, and it was signed by the author when I was very young.
Ooh.
And this book is entirely about all the battles that happened in West Virginia during the Civil War, and it talks about a battlefield that happened a mile from my grandmother's house called Carnifax Ferry. And it's very informative. It's a very good way of speaking in it. And that's the thing about these two books. If you find history boring and like that, these books will help you get into it because they're not like, and then on the 22nd of 1983. It's like this is very much a emotional dramatization of basically the wars, of the Civil War.
Why can't you find that one anymore? You said you can't find it?
Because this originally was going to be a very like big book, and it did not do well. It was very much by an independent artist independent author in West Virginia, And from what I know, because I've tried to find it again, I cannot find this book anywhere.
Okay.
It's your turn, Allie.
Oh, okay.
You look like a deer in the headlights, but I'm calling you out.
Well, so I was over here thinking about what kind of books that I would like to say is my favorite. I did recently read the Annihilation series, which is very good. I definitely recommend at least reading the first book in that. I was thinking of saying it was Scary Stories Treasury, because that one just came in the mail, $9 on Amazon, and it's my childhood. Yeah, I got it for $9, boy. Totally worth it. Love the illustrations, like classic illustrations, none of that redone crap. There's also the one by that's A Lonely Broadcast. I was gonna say who the author was. I think I've mentioned it before. I'm really bad with names. But I decided out of all of the research books that I have, I wanted to do one that speaks to me as a person and a cryptid lover and as a woman. And that is Mothman did a great job installing my home audio system, and now he's eating my ass, a trans buckaroo tale by Chuck Tingle.
Is that real?
Yes.
Hot damn.
That's the real title.
Yes. Chuck Tingle, for those who don't know, is a USA Today best-selling author and two-time Hugo Award finalist. He has written such classics such as Bisexual Mothman Mailman Makes a Special Delivery in Our Butts. He has also written such classics as Scary Stories to Tingle Your Butt. Pounded in the Butt. Pounded in the Butt by My Handsome Sentient Library Card, who seems otherworldly, but in reality is just a natural part of the priceless resources our library system provides.
My God.
I like that one.
And Space Raptor Butt Trilogy. And Pounded in the Butt by My Own Butt. So these are just some of the classic.
My ass is fucking my ass.
Some left cheek on the right cheek. Wait. We're gonna cheek them claps. That's what it is. It's
We
cheek
gotta
them claps
cheek
the
them
novel.
claps, you know what I
We
mean?
got them claps at cheek. Let's see. He has, before he was a USA best-selling author, he had also written Not Pounded by the Physical Manifestation of Someone Else's Doubt in My Place on the Autism Spectrum, because denying someone's personal journey identity like that is incredibly rude, so no thanks. So,
Now, I take
these are
back what I said about the library card. That's the best one. That's the best one.
I
these.
I think what's best about his titles is that the simplicity of it all.
They say so much in so little.
I am wondering, like, what the average word count of his stories are, and if the title takes up a solid, like, 10th or like a percentage. Like, you could put a number to how much it takes up.
Well, let's just say that NPBTPMOSEDIMPOTASBDSPJILTIIRSO. Nope, there's no O. It's NT.
Oh.
I was really trying to simplify it as an acronym, the whole not pounded by the physical manifestation of someone else's doubt in my place on the autism spectrum, because denying someone's personal journey identity like that is incredibly rude, so no thanks. I was trying to simplify that. It's 44 pages long.
Okay.
So, that's basically the title.
Yeah, honestly.
I just like, Allie, you be perfect. Be like, I got 100, go, 32, I'm doing it.
That's when I said sold. Sound like a freaking auction.
I just love all of the ones that involve Mothman and the buttception.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it was going to be butt stuff or something along those lines. Like, I knew that's where that was going.
But to be fair,
you were a gay man in your past life.
I mean, I could see it. I like to identify myself as more of a free spirit person who doesn't care about gender.
Okay.
Ish. I don't know. I like chicks, but I am married. I digress. I would say those are just some of the most beautiful
This was the
titles
episode.
and books, and I just can't wait to read Bisexual Buckaroo 7 bi group encounters in the Tingleverse.
It was
Because
what?
one of them is a cowgirl T-Rex in a crop top with a T-Rex face. I do not want to scissor her. I don't think she has the hands for holding scissors. And then there's Bigfoot.
You know what they say about shoe size?
That's a myth.
Big socks.
Yeah? Yeah,
Mhm.
Jose? Is it Jose? So you're trying to...
I also
I've
really
done my
like the
fair share of
Wicked.
comparison.
I love the Wicked book as well, because I love in the very beginning, even though it's never discussed on Broadway, Elphaba's family was basically a throuple, and the one was a preacher who then decided to get with a quadling? An ATV? I don't remember what the guy was called. I'm going to go with a quad. And, sometimes you just need to explore yourself. And that's how I've been getting on through life.
Have you read Son of a Witch and the other ones?
Yes, I love Son of a Witch. I have the book with the lion, but I just haven't gotten that far because it's not the same without Elphaba.
I like how we go from gay to historian, then to butt stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right,
in a
I'll bring
way,
it
it
full
kind of circles
circle.
back.
It does circle back.
I'll bring it full circle, all right? Because my favorite book is actually The Book Thief by Mark. Can't remember his last name, and I'm gonna Google
I
it
know
while
the
I talk
book.
about
I
it.
can't remember his either.
Oh, I do like The Book Thief. Yes, that one is a very good series. I had to read it for
Zuzak.
school.
Mark Zuzak. Yes, it's a phenomenal. They did end up making a movie of it at some point, and the movie's really good too. But essentially, for anyone who hasn't, heard about it, it is the story of a little girl named Liesel, I believe. I my parents live in Germany, but I don't know how to pronounce German names. And it takes place during World War II. And the main narrator is actually a personification of death. And I am a sucker for personifications of death. I think that is just such a cool concept. And he meets her 3 separate times over the course of her life. And she steals books and learns how to read. And then because, of course, during World War II, there are Holocaust undertones. They do end up taking in a Jew at one point and hiding him. At the end of the book, the whole city gets bombed and she's essentially the only survivor and all she has left are her books. And it's very sad. It's a very, very, very sad book series, but it's beautiful. And the movie definitely also put a lot of heavy emphasis on writing and what that can be as an art form as well. And I like Jose, I do write as well. And that's a very, very large part of my life is writing my book. And so yeah, it's beautiful altogether, and it's very sad, but it's a gorgeous, heart-wrenching tale.
I will
Darkly
say that is a beautiful book, and it does have a lot of morals in it. And Death's version of how life goes is wonderful. Especially when he just kind of forgets that time is a thing, and he gives you someone's future event for when he runs into them again. But I just wonder if it matches the beauty of My Sleep Paralysis Demon is actually pretty hot and she's great at oral by Chuck Tingle. And I'm just wondering if it is appropriate to put The Book Thief along such titles like what we're dealing with right now with that. Thoughts, Emma?
I don't know.
What I want to
Maybe.
do, I want to put a scoreboard historian up here with me and Emma with 2, and it's gonna have butt stuff with you with Allie and Jose. This is 2.
No, because ironically,
I would love if you did that.
I hate World War II shit. Anything that has been put into my mind about World War II came into my mind either by a history class in my public school education or by a white man explaining shit to me that I didn't want to have explained to me.
You're lucky I didn't get my World War II books out of the box.
Good, thank you. But like I said, my favorite book is it's a World War II book, but it's not really about World War II. It just takes place in World War II, unlike Coots's books, which are about history.
He's a
Let's
historian.
yeah, the historian.
You know,
Um,
I also have another question because I was still scrolling through Chuck Tingle's books, and I realized that this is actually pretty relevant because this book is titled "The Sentient Lesbian M dash My Favorite Punctuation Mark Gets Me Off," and I'm just wondering, what is your favorite punctuation mark?
the hyphen.
The hyphen? Okay.
I use it all the time in my writing. Well, not all the time because then it would be overused, but I really enjoy like having a sentence and then hyphenating and then having like a fragment of a sentence in the middle or like a hyphen for clarification purposes.
Jose? Thoughts?
The question mark. 'Cause
Yeah,
it
why?
represents me.
It
I'm
represents-
constantly in a state of confusion with the way things are in this world. The older I get, the less blind I become to how things are, and I'm constantly questioning a lot of things, and so I think the question mark is the perfect one for me. And that dog, whoever dog it is, I think
You leave
agrees
my
with
dog
me.
alone.
Yeah.
No, I think your dog agrees with me.
Don't ever assume Luca agrees with you. She has no idea how life exists. She's just
I mean,
like, books.
that's a privilege right there. I mean, get woke, Luca. Get woke.
Okay, well, okay.
Well, it's funny because Luca is actually very much a lesbian dog. She hates men,
Oh.
loves women. A little too much. I'd ask Coots what his favorite is. Oh, there he is. He's got a
Oh,
stack
he
load
went
of
and got
books.
the
Period.
fucking World War II books.
What about a period?
That's my favorite. Words. What Emma asked. I don't remember the fucking term.
Punctuation mark?
Punctuation mark. Period. Because
and it was
this
Allie
ends.
who asked.
It just
I am not
ends.
Emma.
Allie, then. Allie, fuck you. Period. It ends the fucking whole fucking
Period.
is
sentence.
what
And
happens-
full stop.
You're
This is what
getting a
happens
little
when white-
hostile. Where's your wife? We need to have her come in.
Look, this is what
My
happens when
bestie.
white men start talking about World War II. All right, they just start getting violent and really aggressive and overly excited. Yes, I see your World War II book, Coots. It's very pretty with its red
I
writing
feel
on
like
it.
he would own my. No, but I'm not gonna go there.
No.
We just need to- there's a surprise. It
I
was
think my favorite punctuation mark is the asterisk because it can change a sentence to italicized or bold, and I just love that versatility. Like me.
You like them verse, huh?
Oh, I do. I think you can have so much adventures and fun things that take part with a little bit of versatility.
my next question that I had for you guys was, and this may be a bit of a review
Did you
question.
just stretch out your chin, Coots?
No.
What was that?
This is my. I'm not going to laugh hysterically. Release the laughter.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say you had a really big chin or a long nose there.
Trying to relieve the laughter.
I do something similar. It may be a repeat question. I know my answer is a little different, so I'm kind of hoping y'all's will be as well. Who is your favorite author, and why are they your favorite author? I can talk about mine first if you guys need time to think about
I'm just staring at Jose
it. Oh, okay.
because Jose's gone
Oh,
first every time.
I have? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I can continue that trend. Okay. I mean, Mercedes Lackey is definitely there. I also like Dr. Seuss. No, I'm kidding.
Don't you be shitting on Theodore Geisel, all right? Was he a bad person, actually?
Dr.
Dr.
Seuss?
Seuss?
Yes, he was a very
Yeah.
bad person.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
There was some racist stuff there too.
He cheated on his wife a lot.
Oh, okay. Maybe let's shit on Theodore
Wow.
Geisel.
And he drew pornography in his same style. And that was a little creepy to look up.
What the fuck?
I'm sorry for anyone whose childhood was just ruined, but she
Mine.
speaks the truth.
Mine
That's
was
true.
just ruined. Are you saying like the Cat in the Hat has been Rule 34?
No. I
Oh,
mean,
yes, he
quite
has.
literal. Well, I mean, yes, obviously it's the internet. He's a cat. It's a furry thing. But
Obviously,
like,
I left the light on for my tampon. He says.
but Dr. Seuss quite literally before he went to children's books drew porn.
And
That's
political comics
wild.
too.
That too. But I mean, one of those is more interesting than the other.
I
All depends
totally
on who you
interrupted you,
ask.
Jose. I'm so sorry.
No,
Please
you're fine.
continue.
You're fine.
I just had my mind blown there a little bit.
Stephen King is one that I love his books. I'm not like, unlike Coots and Allie, I'm not a big fan of horror, the genre, but Stephen King, I love it because it's more psychological horror than anything. I mean, obviously there's stuff that are very much in your face horror. But I do like reading the books and then watching the movies and comparing the two. I've yet to really find one that was better than the book. But it is what it is. But Stephen King is one of the few people who can actually make me like horror. And not only that, but we actually had the same birthday too. So
that is cool.
Yep. You want to trade? Because I share a birthday with Jeffrey Dahmer.
As a gay man, I'm gonna say no.
Do you have any tattoos?
What? I do.
Not you, Jose. You do?
Yeah,
You're fine.
Jose
You're
has
fine,
a tattoo.
Jose. Don't worry. Don't worry.
So Jill saved my life.
Yeah, Jill saved your life.
Yay!
Because apparently the tattoos ruin the meat.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, it made the boys less perfect in his eyes.
Mm.
Oh.
I didn't have a tattoo until, was it 2 years ago?
Yep.
So you might have been interesting to him before then.
Well, I forget what year he was actively
Eat the
killing gay
sandwich.
men. So, I don't think I was, yeah.
What's wrong, Emma?
He's just dead already, but it's just a corpse, but you're interesting to the corpse. Just like reverse.
Hey, I can attract all kinds, okay?
Of course. It's just
Are you trying to say that
all over
Jose
again.
isn't hot enough for a dead man? Because I think he's beautiful.
Rise up, dead
you.
man. Make the dirt bells ring.
Hey, I got what it takes to make him rise again, okay?
Listen, there you go.
My God.
Jose, listen, no
Jen-
matter what Emma says or what she thinks, I think that if Dahmer saw
be a
you in a
ghost,
club, your head would have ended up in his fridge.
Jeffrey Dahmer. Jesus is Jeffrey Dahmer's Jesus 2 Electric Boogaloo. He has risen again.
Well,
Okay,
thank you,
Coots.
Allie. Okay.
You're welcome. I'm glad that, we're able to fix Emma's mistakes.
Now
There are
here,
plenty there,
I'm not
Nicholas.
going to cop out Tolkien.
Okay.
Because Tolkien has such a unique writing style, and he made fantasy what it is today. Like, all the ideas we have of fantasy of dwarves, elves, treants, all of that was made in his mind. He literally made the language of the elves. He literally made it. You can actually learn the language of the elves from Lord of the Rings, because he made a whole thing of it. And he used historical things like the dwarven language is all this, the elder and younger Futhark from Norse mythology and Asatru, and like everything with Lord of the Rings has such a compelling story. It's that very first book, I think, that had a classic hero adventure, kind of like the old Greek stories, but this had a lot of struggle with a lot of different areas, different characters for different reasons, where the main character is not the hero of the book. His best friend's the hero of the book. Frodo, like, literally, Frodo's just like, oh, I'm just here to make sure this ring gets to Mordor. And Sam's like, oh, don't worry, Mr. Frodo, we'll make sure it gets there. So that's why Sam's the best character.
Samwise the Brave.
Samwise the Brave.
I don't know this world, but I mean, I do know a lot of people who love it. Like, when I was back in my church days, everyone was a fanatic of that franchise. Like, they would have viewing parties, and I would always say yes to anything they would invite me to because I was desperate for friends. But those viewing parties were the things that I would say no to because I really wasn't interested. But my dad, wherever he is, he sorry,
Subtle lore drop.
That was not supposed to come out.
The plot thickens.
But he has it on audio, and I was like thinking, well, I don't know where he is, but he left that stuff behind, so I might as well just give it a chance.
I also have it on Audible too. I have the one read by Andy Serkis where he voices everybody, including the character he played in the movie, which is Gollum.
That's the weird, ugly guy, right?
Yeah.
Let the smear cry.
Yes.
No, we're not doing this. Don't do this, please. I have to listen to so much of that fucking impression.
Juicy sweet.
Could I have a hard time here? Can you do it again? I can't quite hear you.
The ketchup is so juicy sweet.
One more time.
My precious.
It's too accurate,
Let
dude.
the
Like,
smear
you just stand in front of the mirror doing this to yourself.
When I was like 12, I would run around because I was extremely thin at that point, and my spine would show up my back, and I'd crawl on all fours, just run up to my mother and be like,
Hello, mother. I require foods.
and she would give me food, and I'd run back in my room carrying it in my mouth.
I feel like that was the moment where she was like, you know, maybe kids weren't a good idea.
I'm glad we stopped at one. Yeah, me too, because God help it. I mean, my dad got me to Lord of the Rings. He's the one who read me the books originally. So my dad's like, oh, my son's being Smeagol. And mom's like, what horrid abomination are you possessed by? The power of Christ compels you.
Big on Satan!
No, not so much. It hurts us. It hurts us.
Allie, how about you?
Okay, Allie.
I like Alvin Schwartz. He's the guy who wrote the scary stories from the childhood. And I always thought the illustrations done by Stephen Kamel were like super awesome. Is that a G or a C? I don't know. I'm gonna go with Kamel.
Those old pictures used to give me fucking nightmares. Just seeing, like, especially the one on the front cover of the book you just got, like, that used to scare the shit out of me.
I love them because they were like baby's first horror outside of Goosebumps.
Mhm.
And they're literally just short stories of terror that you either, I said it before, you either got nightmares and never got into horror after seeing it, or you could not stop getting the books and you just fell in love with horror.
That's me and you.
Were those books ever banned or whatever? Because like I said, my dad was in the army. I moved around a lot, and I do not remember these books being in the library when I was a kid.
I think they might have been.
Yeah, I think they were banned. I think the ban was lifted in like the early 2000s, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know,
Yeah.
they recently did like a redux of them and they have new illustrations because I think one of the big issues was the illustrations in them are terrifying and they're supposed to be for like kids ages 8 and up. But when you look at those illustrations, like the first one is a picture of a woman's corpse with no eyes and her teeth.
Who
And
has my toe?
like she's got like everything's rotting. Her hair is
Emma's
wiry.
face.
So
Do you not read these, Emma, whenever you're younger?
No.
Oh, this
no.
is
I was afraid of the dark. I am still to this day afraid of the dark. I'm
I
26
love
years
the
old
dark.
and I still see
That was a
all
good
the
show too,
nightlight.
by the way.
Like,
Yeah.
I loved that show.
that's horrifying.
You
Actually.
missed me reading one of the stories while we
Yeah.
were waiting on you.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. If I could say another one, if you don't mind,
Go for it.
another one, an author that I like that he does get a lot of love, at least, although not recently, was C.S. Lewis.
Oh, of course, when we got
yeah,
the
I
book, we
love
got to
the-
talk about
Yeah,
Lewis.
I love the
C.S.
Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and all that. The Silver Chair, which is I think the first book, if I'm not mistaken.
Silverchair's so good.
Oh, no, not
Silverchair's the
Silver
last
Chair.
book.
That's the last book. But I forgot the name of the first book. But everyone thinks that the first book is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and it's not.
I think it's the cabinet or something like that.
Yeah, it is. It's because that's whenever it first starts, like everything.
That's the Adam and Eve.
Yeah, it's the Adam and Eve story with Alan being, basically Jesus and God at the same time, and then it branches in the Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe. Then it goes to Prince Caspian. Then it got to Prince Caspian. It goes to the Voyage of what's that ship called? What's the
Voyage
ship
of the
called?
Dawn Treader.
Yeah, it's Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I don't remember what comes after that. There's like 2 or 3 more.
It might
books,
have been
and
the
it gets-
donkey and the monkey.
The Magician's
Voyage-
Nephew
The Magician's
There's
was
Nephew.
the first.
That's the first
Yeah.
one, is it not? Magician's Nephew?
Now the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I believe, was the first one that was released. But the Magician's Nephew is a prequel. So
Mhm.
if you get books, most
Yeah.
books will put that one first because it is a prequel, and they put the books in order. That way you don't have to like guess or what it is. So the Magician's Nephew is meant to be the first story, but it was not the first one released.
The last battle was one of the very first books that I read, because I read the whole series. I read it in chronological order.
Did you have the
But
big
when I
book like I
got
did that had
to
all the books in it?
I
no, I
did.
my
I did.
my parents had a like a box set with like
Okay.
individual cover art for them. But the last battle was one of the very first books that I ever read. Where when I finished it, I just like put it down and just started bawling, and then you just like get this like deep sadness. And I was like really little because these are children's books. So I'm reading them as a child, and I was like, I don't like. I literally had to have my mom come in the room. I was like, Mom, I don't know why I'm so sad right now, and we just talked about it for a really long time. And I will never reread that book because at least the last battle. I'll reread the Magician's Nephew because Magician Nephew I remember to this day, and Prince Caspian and the Horse and His Boy were like my three favorites. Like those were phenomenal. But last battle was really sad.
Listen, I was like that whenever my dad read me The Hobbit. I just remember at the very end of the book, I was bawling my eyes out, and my dad was like, "It's okay," and I'm like, "No, it's not." He's like, "Death happens. It's a thing that happens in life." I just said like, "What does have to happen in a book, Dad?"
Yeah.
Man,
I
I
used to
feel
have,
kind of gypped. Everyone's
But you
over
never-
here like, oh yeah, I cried because of death. Oh, they're just like, eh.
Have you ever read the
So-
books or?
Yeah, I read them. I
Okay.
thought it was interesting at the very end, in the last scene where they're just like, oh yeah, we all died in a train accident except for our sister, so we get to experience heaven with Aslan.
Mhm.
Except for her, because she doesn't believe anymore. The
She was a-
fucking sinner.
She's a badass too. They talk about like how she like wears stockings and like rouge on her lips, and I'm
Oh,
like, I don't
man.
see what the problem here
That
is.
night, that 1950s. Mm-mm.
Listen, you don't understand. She was a slut.
Oh yes, of course,
Of course, of course, of course.
of course.
Speaking of books that tear us up, my favorite author is actually a recent author that I have discovered. I say recent; it's been like 8 months. But she's actually very popular. So unfortunately, I don't have one of the like lesser hidden known ones. But Sarah J. Maas is my favorite author right now. It used to be Christopher Paolini. He wrote the Aragon series, the Inherited Cycle, because he does description in a way that is just phenomenal. But he has recently been usurped by Sarah J. Maas. So Sarah J. Maas writes a subgenre of fantasy and romance. It's called romantasy. So they are, in short, it's fairy porn. Not gonna not gonna pretend that it's not. However, the plots
Go
are that
on.
she puts into her story are
Mhm.
I mean they're phenomenal. Like they're absolutely phenomenal. The characters she has all of her main characters are female, and one of the things that she wants to focus on specifically
Eh.
is the plight of a female protagonist. And it's really wonderful the way that like the women that she writes are fully rounded characters. I mean there I can think of there's two separate characters that go through literally post-traumatic stress disorder during the series of the novel, and she does an absolutely excellent uh, job of portraying like a panic attack or the slow healing process of like coming back outside of yourself. um the I don't really have a favorite out of her book series because she has three, but I will say that her a Court of Thorns and Roses series, or just a Court of series, really, I guess. It used to be my favorite because I really empathized with the main character Feyre because she goes through a lot and then she comes out and she's a lot stronger. But I will say that has been usurped by her Throne of Glass series. There are two quotes that she has in that book series that have actually pulled me personally through some really dark times. So the main character will tell herself, she'll say, "My name is Aelin Ashriver Galanthinius, and I will not be afraid." And I totally yanked that and I use that in my life. And I say, "My name is Emma, middle name, last name," which I'm not going to put on the internet, and I will not be afraid. And she has another one as well, which mild spoilers for the last book in the series, but she's like physically being tortured. Like it's very bad. It's very it's not super graphic, but it is very intense and heartbreaking to read. And she's getting very
Oh,
close
so the
to
bad kind of torture.
yeah, like the real
Okay.
bad. Like I
I
promise
wasn't sure because you mentioned it was fairy porn, and I was
it
like,
is.
I wasn't sure. Okay.
It
Like I
is.
wasn't
It
trying to
is
be funny.
100%. But yeah, we are talking about bad. Like bad, bad. And they put her in this iron box, and she's very, very close to breaking and not being a person anymore and giving into this misery that is her life and has been her life for several months at this point. And she essentially hears a voice in her head saying, "You do not yield." And she just starts screaming it, "You do not yield, you do not yield," over and over. And I snatch that shit and I use that shit in my fucking life. And if I'm scared of something, I'll say, "My name is Emma, first name, middle name, last name. I will not be afraid." Or I'll say, "You do not yield." And I got that from a fairy porn book, but they're very good.
Oh.
The porn parts are great. I won't get too into it. They're pretty great. But the plot is the main point, and the plot is
I
fantastic.
read it for the plot. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
plot.
I do tell
Yes.
people that. I do say, yeah, I'm reading a fairy porn book, but I'm reading it for the plot. Totally.
To quote
I
my
love when the plot really gets in.
The
to-
plot
It's really-
to
thickens.
quote my
really-
my IRL D&D game. Can I see a Clisaurus?
Can you find it though?
He's listen. His name's
Ooh.
Mash, and he's like trying to find these Clisauruses because
Oh yeah, things definitely match or
Yep.
mash. I mean,
he's sure there's a dinosaur called a Clisaurus.
That's wild.
oh, and just like a
How-
real man, he's gonna spend so much time trying to find it.
I finally
Can't find it with
found
Yahoo Maps.
Oh,
So, since we all have, we enjoy reading. Has anyone here been interested enough in reading to actually start writing their own things? Like I know, Ali, you write your scripts for your shows. I think somebody, I don't know where she is. I think she's below me.
He's above you.
Okay, above me. All right.
Ooh, whoa.
Emma, aren't you writing something, or did you write
I
something?
am. I currently have, I actually just did the math for it last night. I currently have 127,000 words in my novel that I'm working on. And projected to finish with about 170,000 for the rough draft.
Are you gonna try to
Damn.
get published?
Yes, that is the end game goal, is to get it published. It's about genies, so genie lamp tattoo
Oh, I'll read
makes a
it.
little bit more sense.
Yeah,
I
same.
will,
I've
actually was
already
gonna
starting
ask
to read
you,
it.
if you wanted to beta read it for me, because I'm on chapter 41. I'm starting 41 today, and I very much need eyes on it. So if you would like to read it, I will happily send that shit on.
I definitely I love supporting friends who have projects like that. So like definitely I would love to read that for you.
is it
and
genie
that'd be
porn?
great.
No, there's no genie porn. I am debating, but my typical
God.
style has always been the fade to black and the implications.
You see, my
And I personally appreciate that.
my
I
only
hate
writing I do
cock
is
tease books.
See, that's the thing. Okay, Coots, I've interrupted you 4 times. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. The only thing I write is r/no sleep, and that's pretty much the only thing I ever released to the public.
I don't know if either of you guys have read any of Coots' works, but I have, and it's actually really good. It's fairly creepy, and it kind of keeps me up at night sometimes, not gonna lie.
I'd read them. I love reading creepy.
All right.
Creepy is my favorite thing to read.
I'm not into creepy, but I would give it a chance.
You hear the groaning once again down the hall, the steps getting closer and closer as you stand there, frozen in time, frozen in space. You cannot
Oh god,
move.
they're fucking again.
They're fucking again.
That's
You
all
feel
I'm
a
getting.
sharp
Like
pain up your ass.
I've already be like,
Ah! And then all of a sudden it felt good. And it was like,
Suddenly,
oh,
you're
all
like,
right.
this poltergeist dick is good.
See, I was just gonna say that's just you describing what's happening right now
Yeah.
in your incredibly haunted house.
Oh
But
yeah,
then see, we took that path. So
yeah.
maybe
My
not
house is
right now.
haunted, by the way. For any of you who believe in ghosts, my house is legitly haunted.
Well, you live right next door to a graveyard, so
And this house was built in the 1800s, and there's a lot of other creepy things that's happened inside this house.
yeah.
tell us about. I wanted to ask about your novel that you wrote for your kids, or your book that you wrote for your kids. I wanted to ask you about that.
Oh,
I'm curious.
yeah. Thank you. So it actually started when I was in 6th grade. I didn't have kids back then.
I was gonna say, God
Really
damn.
wild.
Wow,
You're
you
12?
started late. As a West Virginian, you started late.
Sixth grade. Huh.
Sixth grade, man. You gotta go back to 4th.
Well, unfortunately, if you speak to your wife, you'll know that that
Oh,
was
I
not
know.
the case.
I'm aware. Don't worry, I've heard the story.
Oh, and that came out wrong. If you ask your wife, no, she's my best friend. Anyway,
Yeah.
going going back to the thing. So in sixth grade, I was in school, and we had to do this like testing to kind of see where our math and reading and writing and levels were at. So for the writing part, we had to write a story, and either keep writing until time runs out, or you run out of room. I ran out of room, and I loved the story so much that I wrote. So I wrote it in my journal that I had, and I kept it. And over the years, I kept working on it. And when I moved to where I live now, I had a teacher that read it, and he encouraged me to keep going. So I did. But then over the years, I kind of stopped writing it. I thought that I was done with it. But when I got kids, they love story time. My husband reads to my son, my eldest son, every night. So I kind of wanted to do something for them that was unique. Like it'll be a fairy tale that no one else has, and I actually wanted to put my kids in the story. So I took the original story that I wrote and I kind of rewrote it for kids, and I added my sons as the main characters. And I actually went around the house with like props and costumes. My husband dressed up as well, and I took photos of my kids in different costumes and everything. And I went on Shutterfly. This is not sponsored, but I went on Shutterfly.com and I put the photos in the book and I wrote the story and I had it made. Hold on, I have to cover their faces because I don't want to show their faces on the thing here. But
We could
so this
probably
is the
just
story.
edit it out, maybe.
Yeah, I can blur it out.
Okay, so this is the book.
Look at the babies. They're so cute. It's
They
so
are
bad
very
that none of the
cute.
rest of you can see them, but they're adorable.
They're adorable. You can't see them though.
Yeah, and so I wrote the story and I just kind of put them in like this one you can't show. This is my husband and I as the two kings. I don't know if you can even hear me. My mic is over here. So my husband and I are two kings that rule a magical kingdom, and we actually ended up adopting two boys from another kingdom, and they became our sons. So those were, our real life boys, and they go on an adventure because a curse gets put on me and my husband, and they escape with their lives, and they go on an adventure, and they break the curse, and it's. My son loves it. Like my husband has read it to him a few times, but that was one of their Christmas presents. And I said this is book number one because I am planning on doing a second one, so that way they have it. And it was actually very rewarding for me because I don't think that I'm good enough to get published because I write a whole bunch of stories. And if Coot's wife was to hear me say that, she'd probably slap me.
I might slap
She's my
you.
best friend.
I'm sorry.
But,
Were you ignoring me the entire time that I was showing off Chuck fucking Tingle? Do
That's
you
what-
know how many books this man has published? He is literally
you read
a
quite a few.
two-time Hugo Award finalist. Chuck motherfucking Tingle. I'm pretty sure you can get published.
I appreciate that. Maybe one day I will. But this is the first time that I actually allowed anyone other than my husband to read one of my stories, and it was obviously for my kids. Coots and Jill, his wife, came to visit us in December, and they actually read it before I ordered it. And they liked it. They were very encouraging. But the fact that my kids love it, that's really what matters to me. My sons love the story. They love seeing themselves as the characters. I did take pictures of them and put it in there. So I'm definitely interested in writing it some more. And maybe one day I will, try to get it published. But yeah. So that was fun.
I
That's
think
really
you
cute.
succeeded with it. I think you'll do really well. If it's not
Thank you.
that book, it'll be another one that you might write in the future. The biggest hurdle that I think most people have when it comes to their art that they're passionate about is they don't give
Mhm.
themselves enough credit.
True. That is true. I mean, and there was one that Coots seemed interested in that I kind of I took all these mythical creatures that we know and love, and I kind of remade them in my own in my own view. Like I redid the whole werewolf thing and how it came to be. And Coots was actually salivating when I was telling him about that. And actually, because of that, and we discovered that we both really like the same things, and that's actually kind of how this podcast came to be. We realized that we have a lot of the same interests, so we're like, let's do a podcast, and Circle of Geeks was born.
Circle of Geeks. Don't to be confused with
Table of
Trapezoid or
Geeks.
Table of Geeks.
Table
Oh,
of
Table of
Table-
Geeks.
Table of
It's
Geeks. Oh my god.
It's
Table
Table
of
of
Books,
Books.
Circle of Geeks.
Yeah.
Oh God, what podcast am I in again?
You're in the trapezoid of nerds.
Let me just roll a
Um,
one. Oh, look, I wrote a one.
So my biggest advice, I don't have any advice on getting published because I've never been published, but my two
Mhm.
biggest pieces of advice that I have for writing, one of them I have to accredit to Stephen King himself, the king. I got it from his book on writing, and it was absolutely life changing. It is number one, set a daily word goal and make it small. He recommends writing 250 words a day, and stick to it and just write 250 words. 250 words is maybe 4 paragraphs. It's not a lot of words. It's not a lot of space.
No.
It's slightly more, I think, than half of a page. But if you write 250 words a day in a 30 day month, you end up with 7,500 words by the end of the month. So it does get done slowly. And then the second biggest tip that I've just heard repetitively throughout my life. So there's really no one person to be able to accredit this to, but it is don't worry about it. When you are writing your first draft, it is going to be actual hot garbage, flaming, disgusting, dog stepped in its shit and then stepped in the water bowl. It's gonna be bad. The magic
Damn.
happens in editing when you go back and you reread it and you start rewriting it and you change things. But if you never put it down on paper, then there's nothing to edit. And that's
Mhm.
where people run into the problem.
And I'm
So
gonna
yeah,
say
those
this too, like, don't ever be afraid of trying to get something published. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but both myself and Jill have been published before, and you can get inside a small book with different stories. That's how both of us got published. Like, both of us were published from poems. And basically it's just about find something you're passionate about and pursue it. And you might get published. You might be added in a book full of poems, like me and my wife were.
You mean like those collect like Chicken Soup for the Soul kind of
Yeah.
books, like where they have different
yeah,
collection
Yeah.
of. Oh, okay.
yeah, my dad is he's I think been 3 times published, 2 or 3 times now. I feel like a bad daughter for not remembering that. But they are all in an anthology group where everyone has 2 or 3 short stories and they piece it together and they publish a book that way. But they're publishable. You can buy them on Amazon if you would like to, which you should, even
Nice.
though I don't know what they're called.
Well, kind of
Shout
hard
out.
to buy them if I don't know what they're called.
I'll tell you later when I
Okay. Well,
text me back.
Yes,
I
Allie?
think the biggest thing is. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Ali. Go ahead.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I was
Hi.
going to say the most important thing to do is to always start and to at least try. The worst thing that anyone will ever tell you is no. And that's completely okay. Also, speaking for Stephen King, and something that he's famous for having said is he has a area where he just has all of his rejection notes and he just stabs them down, because some people, like, it's almost like finding a job. You might have this job that, you see they're hiring, you want it, but you don't think you're good enough. And if you never try, you're never going to know if you were good enough or not. And that goes for so many things, especially when it comes to the art field, because too many people just think they're not good enough. They never try. And so they're never put out there. And it's a shame, because there are a lot of people who are incredibly talented that, we know, or might be, ourselves with certain things. And because of our fears holding us back, we don't discover how much potential we have.
And like
And it's a shame because. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I said it's a shame because we just listed a bunch of stories that we loved, but imagine how many were never put out there because of self doubt, self sabotage. You have that inner voice, that inner saboteur that just wants to tell us that we're not good enough. With me, because I was constantly told that I was not good enough for basically anything. I didn't do a lot growing up. Like, I never even went to a single prom or dance because I was like, I'm not good enough to be with these people. And I kind of took that into my art. Like, when I'm writing, I am like, it's almost, I don't know even how to describe it. Almost like an out of body experience. Like, I absolutely love writing and creating these characters, this world, and everything. And even my bad guys, I love them. And in my head, I have it where it's like, because you love this, it sucks. Like, don't even bother. And not listening to that has always been very hard. I actually, after I spoke to Coots about doing this podcast, which is called Table of Geeks, not Circle of Geeks, I was actually going to tell him, never mind. I didn't want to be recording my voice and sounding like an idiot, or being on video where people can actually see me talking. But I'm glad I did, because this has become one of my favorite, things to do in my week, like talking to the three of you about stuff, and I wouldn't have done this if I would have given in to that self-doubt. So, maybe I should just apply that to my writing. And maybe, who knows, maybe you'll see me in the kids section of Barnes and Nobles, like my
Yeah,
stories, not me.
hit it with the you do not yield. That shit'll get you
So-
every time.
Two things. One, with the caveat off what Ali said, it's like with me, my dream job has always been doing like editing, like being an editor. That's always my dream job. And Ali recently hired me as her editor for her YouTube channel. I did the most
Yay!
recent video, and that is like a dream come true. And like, I'm just happy to work with my friend, and B, being able to do something that I've always dreamed of doing is something that's very uplifting. You have to try it. You have to try it, because I asked numerous people, and they've always said, no, I don't want you. And finally, somebody said yes. Her mistake, but hey, she said yes.
What's up, bro? I got nothing to lose.
You're
with
always
that-
going to hear, and yeah, a lot of no's before you finally hear that yes.
Yeah. And before that, Emma, would you like to say anything as a send-off since you did the intro?
Oh wait, no. Before that, I have one last inspirational thing.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just remember, if we let no's hold us back, then we would have never had such incredible gems such as The Lord of the Rings, the Stephen King books, and absolutely no thoughts of pounding during my fun day with this kind T-Rex, because I'm aromantic and asexual, and that's a wonderfully valid way of proving love is real.
I knew it. I called it. I knew
the
it.
three greats right there.
The Holy Trinity. We wouldn't have had
Holy, I
the
don't know.
Bible,
Ooh, that's another
the
topic.
best written fan fiction ever written.
And with that, this has been Table of Books. Tune in next week to hear us talk about something that will never ever get you a partner of any gender or non-gender, but
More
listen
Chuck
anyway
Tingle!
because it'll be fun. Yeah, more Chuck Tingle. Honestly, maybe we could probably do a whole podcast on Chuck Tingle. Really,
Oh,
but
don't tempt
remember, guys, you do not yield. I've forgotten what goodbye in Spanish is.
Adios.
Hola.
It's adios, but thank you for saying hola.
Sayonara!
Tschüss.